In 1941, as World War II spread across the Pacific, American and Japanese soldiers carried very different sidearms into battle. This difference became a crucial factor in close-range combat. The United States issued the M1911A 1.45A CP pistol, a weapon with proven stopping power and decades of development behind it. Japan, on the other hand, relied on the Type 14 Nambu, a design with serious limitations in reliability and lethality. To understand why the M1911A1 shocked Japanese forces, we must go back to the early 20th century. During the Philippine-American War, American troops faced Moro fighters who continued to charge even after being hit multiple times by the standard .38 caliber revolvers. The U.S. Army needed a sidearm with greater stopping power. As a result, a new pistol trial began, focusing on a .45 caliber cartridge that could quickly neutralize an opponent. Among the tested weapons, John Browning's M1911 design stood out for its power, accuracy, and ruggedness. It officially entered U.S. service in 1911. By the time America was drawn into World War II, the design had been upgraded to the M1911A1. It featured improved grips, a better trigger, and greater durability. American pilots, Marines, paratroopers, and tank crews relied on it as a trusted last-line defensive weapon. It was easy to maintain, functioned reliably in mud and sand, and delivered a high-impact .45 ACP round that could stop a charging enemy with one or two well-placed shots. Japan's primary military sidearm at the same time was the Type 14 Nambu pistol. The Nambu originated from a pre-World War I design, but continued with minimal improvement. It fired the 8mm Nambu cartridge, a lower pressure round with significantly less stopping power compared to the American .45 ACP. In real combat, Japanese soldiers often found that a single hit from this pistol failed to incapacitate American troops quickly. This difference in effectiveness became a major disadvantage. Another problem with the Nambu was its construction. The pistol mechanism was sensitive to dirt and required more careful handling. In jungle warfare, where moisture and mud were constant threats, reliability dropped quickly. Cold weather made the trigger guard so small that soldiers wearing gloves struggled to fire the weapon. The magazine spring was weak, leading to misfeeds during intense moments. It was also more expensive to manufacture than many other pistols of the era, despite offering less performance. The M1911A1, by contrast, was built like a battlefield tool. Even if soaked in water or filled with dust, it could continue firing after a quick wipe. Its robust design made it suitable for the harshest combat environments, including the island campaigns of the Pacific. Many American troops trusted it with their lives during close-quarters assaults against fortified Japanese positions. The difference became especially clear during battles such as Guadalcanal, Tarawa, and Iwo Jima. When U.S. Marines fought in trenches and caves, pistols often became the primary weapon. Reports from the field described instances where Japanese soldiers, even after being shot with the weaker 8mm round, continued to fight. Meanwhile, the .45 ACP round delivered devastating energy transfer, often dropping targets instantly. This reliability created a psychological advantage for American soldiers and shock among Japanese forces. The Nambu suffered from another unusual vulnerability. Its external magazine release and open design allowed dirt to severely disrupt function. Its complex striker system caused accidental discharges, making it unsafe during handling. Many captured U.S. troops commented that Japanese pistols looked and felt like prototypes rather than fully refined military weapons. The Americans, however, viewed the M1911A1 as more than just a sidearm. It was a symbol of American engineering. Simple, powerful, and dependable under pressure. Veterans often stated that if every other weapon failed, they could still trust their .45 to protect them. That confidence helped build morale in some of the toughest close-range battles of the war. As the Pacific War intensified, Japan recognized the performance gap but lacked the industrial capacity to redesign and mass-produce a superior sidearm. Their focus shifted to aircraft, naval units, and defensive fortifications, leaving the Type 14 Nambu largely unchanged. This allowed the M1911A1 to continue outperforming its Japanese counterpart until the very end of the conflict. The result was a clear technological and tactical superiority in close combat. In the dense jungles and fortified tunnel systems of the Pacific, a reliable sidearm could make the difference between life and death. The M1911A1 consistently provided that assurance. It delivered power where it mattered most, up close, in seconds that decided survival. By 1945, countless combat reports confirmed what Japanese soldiers had learned firsthand. The American M1911A1 was one of the deadliest sidearms on any battlefield of the war. The shock was not only from its destructive ability, but from its consistent performance in every environment the Pacific theater could present. This comparison between the M1911A1 and the Type 14 Nambu highlights how weapon design can influence battlefield outcomes. The United States prioritized stopping power and reliability. Japan's slower development and weaker ammunition left its troops disadvantaged in critical moments. The lessons from these encounters would influence future sidearm designs worldwide. As World War II drew toward its conclusion, the M1911A1 had already earned a legendary reputation. It remained in U.S. service long after the war, participating in Korea, Vietnam, and even into modern conflicts. Its effectiveness showed that when lives depend on seconds, a well-designed weapon can redefine combat superiority. As the Pacific Campaign entered its later stages, the contrast between American and Japanese weapon effectiveness became even more visible. Close quarters fighting intensified as U.S. Marines and Army units assaulted well-fortified islands like Saipan, Peleliu, and Okinawa. Underground tunnel systems, bunkers, and narrow caves forced soldiers into sudden engagements at point-blank range. In these environments, the quality of a soldier's sidearm could instantly decide the outcome. American troops, equipped with the M1911A1, carried a weapon designed specifically for stopping threats quickly in extreme situations. The .45 ACP round produced heavy impact even at short distances, often preventing an enemy from continuing their attack. Marines described the pistol as a fight stopper, especially when Japanese troops charged in banzai attacks. A single accurate shot could halt a rushing foe, something the weaker 8mm Nambu round often failed to accomplish. On the Japanese side, the Type 14 Nambu's shortcomings became increasingly dangerous. Reports from Japanese officers expressed concern that their sidearm did not provide enough stopping power to neutralize American soldiers fast enough. In many cases, U.S. troops, even if hit once, could still continue fighting. This disadvantage forced Japanese forces to rely more heavily on rifles, bayonets, and grenades during close combat, making the pistol almost a last-resort weapon instead of a reliable backup. Durability was another major dividing line. The M1911A1 functioned after exposure to mud, water, and tropical humidity, common conditions on Pacific islands. American soldiers often cleaned their pistols quickly in the field and immediately returned them to combat-ready condition. The weapon's simple and robust internal design allowed even inexperienced troops to maintain it effectively. The Type 14 Nambu struggled under similar conditions. Its complex striker system required precise alignment and clean internal parts. Sand or debris could easily jam the weapon at the worst moments. Japanese soldiers often attempted to shield their pistols from the elements, but on battlefields like Iwo Jima or Guadalcanal, this was nearly impossible. Some soldiers even preferred captured American sidearms, acknowledging their superior performance. Another critical issue was ammunition. The 45 ACP cartridge delivered significant force to the target, capable of penetrating thick clothing, gear, and even wooden obstacles. The 8mm Nambu round lacked comparable energy. It was not only weaker, but also inconsistently manufactured as Japan's wartime industry struggled under resource shortages. Low-quality ammunition increased the chances of misfires and reduced effectiveness in battle. Meanwhile, American industry mass-produced high-quality ammunition and replacement parts, ensuring that frontline troops were always supplied and always ready. The U.S. military also distributed the M1911A1 widely to officers, machine gun teams, vehicle crews, pilots, engineers, and elite units. This widespread availability meant many American servicemen had a sidearm that could be trusted when all other weapons ran dry. The psychological impact of this advantage was noticeable. Japanese soldiers learned through experience that Americans carried pistols with deadly power. This changed how some Japanese units approached close combat, knowing that even a wounded American could deliver a lethal .45 shot before falling. Veterans later recalled that the M1911A1's presence alone made them feel more confident in the most dangerous encounters. There were also design differences with real consequences. The Type 14 Nambu had a very light trigger system when uncocked and became hazardous if bumped or dropped. Accidental discharges were a known risk. Its safety lever was awkward and slow to operate, a flaw in situations where seconds mattered. The M1911A1, in contrast, included both a grip safety and a manual safety, reducing accidents without slowing deployment. By 1944, U.S. intelligence and ordnance teams evaluated captured Japanese pistols. Their reports described the Nambu as mechanically interesting but fundamentally underpowered and poorly adapted for harsh wartime use. American analysts concluded that Japanese troops would be at a serious disadvantage in any close-range pistol engagement. As the war approached its end, the Japanese military considered redesigning their sidearm, but strategic priorities and resource shortages made it impossible. Production quality dropped even lower in the final years, making the Type 14 Nambu even less reliable than before. This decline further widened the gap between American and Japanese weapon performance. When Japan surrendered in 1945, large quantities of captured firearms were studied by Allied forces. The M1911A1 emerged from the war not only as a successful combat pistol, but as a legendary piece of military engineering. It had earned a reputation for power, reliability, and battlefield dominance, attributes that made it one of the most respected sidearms of the 20th century. The Type 14 Nambu, however, became a symbol of Japan's industrial struggles and the consequences of outdated weapon design. Japanese veterans admitted that their pistols were inferior and often hoped to acquire American arms when possible. The war made one fact undeniable. In the brutal conditions of the Pacific Theater, the M1911A1 gave American soldiers a critical survival advantage. Its stopping power frequently turned the tide in small life-or-death moments where hesitation or a weapon malfunction could be fatal. After the war, the M1911A1 continued to serve the United States for decades, including in Korea and Vietnam. Its iconic .45 ACP round remained a trusted standard for close-quarters battle. Even as new pistol designs emerged, many soldiers and special units preferred the M1911 platform for its unmatched combination of durability and stopping power. Meanwhile, the Type 14 Nambu faded into history, remembered mainly as a collector's item and a lesson in the importance of balancing innovation with practicality. While Japan excelled in many areas of warfare, their standard sidearm could not compete with the American design that had dominated the battlefield. Today, historians and weapon experts consider the M1911A1 one of the most influential handguns ever produced. It shaped the future of sidearm development worldwide. The Pacific War proved that winning weapons are those that work reliably under the worst possible conditions. And the M1911A1 set a benchmark few have matched. In the end, the story of these two pistols is more than a comparison of technology. It highlights how frontline experiences reveal the true value of a weapon. When American and Japanese forces fought at arm's length, the difference between the M1911A1 and the Type 14 Nambu became unmistakable. One was a proven combat tool. The other was a compromised weapon trying to survive a war it was not designed to win. This is why Japanese soldiers were shocked by America's M1911A1.45 pistol, and why their own Type 14 Nambu remained outgunned from the first shot to the final battle.